Did I just answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, you're good. Yeah, yeah, we're good.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
So my
Oh,
oh,
I'm sorry. Jim,
hey,
we're
go
good?
Evert. Yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
Sorry, Everett. We are back on the
How's it
track
going?
tonight with Oklahoma City University five-time NAIA national champion. He holds PRs of a 3:39.87 in the 1500 meters, a 3:58.89 in the mile, 13:29.21 for the 5000 meters, and a 29:17.84 in the 10K. And as I said, he is a five-time NAIA national champion. And just recently at the 2024 NAI Outdoor Track and Field Championships at Indiana Wesleyan. He was a champion in the 4x8. He was a champion in the 5,000 meters. He was a champion at the 10,000 meters. And he also ran third place in the 1,500 meters, running almost 24,000 meters over the course of 3 days at the national championships. Again, from Oklahoma City University, Everett Silva. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're excited for this conversation. A little bit of a through line as we get rolling. As I mentioned before, we got online. First one is Coach Souter from the University of Cumberland. He was talking to us, recapping the NAI National Championships, and your name came up a few times as a fierce, fierce competitor. And so we did a little bit of a deep dive. Wanted to get you on here. Also, your coach, Matt Aguero, correct? Is he still the coach at OKC? Did I say his name
No,
right?
it is Frazier Legacy.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I must have been looking at an old post. My bad. Anyway,
Yeah,
we'll
Frazier's
leave
new to
that.
OKC.
We'll get into that. We'll leave Matt out of it then. And then also, as I mentioned, I lived in Oklahoma City for almost 3 years, and I was just a few blocks from OKC, from the university. So I'm curious, have you had an onion burger yet in your time in Oklahoma City?
I have not, but they have popped up on my TikTok feed, and I've heard that it's something that should be tried. But I've also heard that it's not. They're not as good as they once were when they initially started or were popular back in the day. But I have seen a couple of onion burger joints.
All right.
So
Well, when you get back to OKC, I'll recommend that you go check out Tucker's on 23rd. Friend of mine is a former client as well as the owner. There's two of them. There's one also over at Clausen Curve. But they're very delicious. How about Empire Slice House? Have you been over there yet?
yes, I went when I took a visit to OCU, and then it's kind of a gathering spot after certain events, like after our mile night. Coach took us out there, and if we have recruits, we'll take them out to Empire. So, and they're open pretty late. It's a
Yeah.
good spot to be.
Yeah, they have a really good selection. Have you thought about getting the elephant tattoo so you could get discounts on your pizza? Do they still
No,
offer
I
that?
wasn't. Oh, no, I haven't heard about that.
There used to be a tattoo shop right down like down the block it was like a thing. If you got the logo, the elephant, the pink elephant tattoo, I can't remember if it was a discount or if they gave you a free slice. But anyway, how about Waffle Champion? Have you been to Waffle Champion at all yet?
I have. It was one of the last spots I went to before I flew back home.
Okay.
It also came up on I think my Instagram feed, and I love waffles over pancakes. So, and I'd
Right
never
on.
been. It's a cool little spot.
Yeah, it's a good spot. It's a good spot. So yeah, you're a five-time national champion, and you're at Oklahoma City University. So we like to get into everyone's origin stories. I have an origin story of how I got into running. I ran my first 5 mile race when I was five because the 10 and under division had a fish tank for first place, and I really wanted a fish tank. And so I ran that 5 mile race a long, long time ago, and I'm still running to this day. So I'm curious. I heard you talk. You were an avid soccer player, and you had an injury that kind of kept you sidelined for a little bit, and so you got into running. Was running something that was once you got into it, was it something that you enjoyed, or was it something that over time with the success that you've had that you found the love and the passion for it, or was it kind of you took to it right away?
Yeah. So going back to my soccer days, I grew up in a soccer family. My uncles, my dad, my brother, my cousins, everybody plays soccer. And so I played that from the age of 5 or 6, I believe, up until my sophomore year of high school. I had a pinched nerve in my back and we didn't know how to fix it. We went to chiropractors and everything, and it can never get fixed. And we never went to like the doctors to try to see like the underlying issue. So I just decided I was going to stop playing because it hurt to go through all the motions of soccer. But I was able to run just fine. And then, so I started my sophomore year. I had summer school because I failed my English class both semesters. And after school, I would see like a bunch of kids just gathering around with, there was no balls or no nothing. So I assumed they were the cross country team, and I asked them, and they said all I needed to join was a pair of shoes and to show up after school. So I did that, and I always knew I was kind of good at running because I did it in 6th grade, just to be with my friends, and then I did it again in 8th grade for the same reason. But I I couldn't stand the fact of not doing a sport after I quit soccer, so I knew running is like something else. I didn't have to go searching to see what I was good at, and so when I started, it was completely different from 6th grade and 8th grade because in high school kids are a lot better. So I got my first race, I got 17th, and I'd never finished like lower than third in a race. So then I was kind of contemplating whether I wanted to do it just because it hurt really bad, and 5K was a bigger jump than a 1 mile race or 1.5 that we did in middle school. But I think our second week of practice we were doing hills. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Woodward Park course here in Fresno, California, where they host a state meet. But in the second mile, there's a hill. It's called Killer Hill, and it's the biggest hill of the race. And it always sucks. And so that was our summer training. Every time we would go out there, we would just run those hills. And yeah, I think my second week of practice, we were doing it, and I just felt awful. And in my mind, I was like, if this is what we have to do every time we're gonna like be practicing a hard day, I don't think I want to do it because it wasn't very enjoyable. And instead of, I was gonna cut the workout short, but I feel guilt every time I quit something. And so I told myself when I got home, I was gonna text my coach that I wasn't gonna come out anymore. But once the fatigue went away and I was home and rested and fed, it's like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll try it one more week. And then 1 week turned into another week and so on. And now I'm here.
Right on, right on. We're going to get into your time in the CIF and all that sort of stuff because California has a very unique situation like New Jersey where they uh, crown only one champion. A lot of states have multiple divisions, and California doesn't do that, and neither does New Jersey. But before we do that, I forgot it, and I want to get into it. Can you give everyone your socials wherever you want the fans to find you or follow you? You know, the floor is yours. Any of your socials you want to give out, go right ahead.
On Instagram, it's Evert Silva 6. I dabble in a little bit of TikTok. That's Everett Silva 69, and then my YouTube is just Everett Silva.
Awesome. Thank you. And so you,
E-
oh, go ahead, Jim.
Ever, you said you didn't like running because it hurts. And I know the faster you get, it still hurts. Does it still hurt?
Yeah, it hurts. I had a 5K this Sunday in Portland, and that didn't go very well. And yeah, it doesn't really get easier unless you're having a great race. Then the pain's a little bit more tolerable.
Was that your first race since nationals?
Was it? I'm not sure. It could have been, or my second.
All right.
I'm
So
blanking.
you said it wasn't too great, and Rich said at the beginning of the podcast you had a stellar national meet, scoring a lot of points for your team, putting your team on the board, getting them up there. How do you come back from that? What's the mindset after? You say you just got back for a run, so obviously you're back on the horse. How you feeling mindset wise? What's next?
Yeah, I mean, I took 2 days off afterwards because my quads were really beat up, especially my left leg. I think all the left turns took its toll. But when I got back to campus, everyone was, as soon as we landed, like either that day or the next day, everyone was leaving campus, and um, I was planning on being there for 2 more weeks to do a road race in Arkansas. But my coach wanted me to run a 5K in Oregon. So I started training that Monday because I didn't have anything to do and I was just sad and bored inside my apartment. Um, but I think after that high, like it wasn't too hard to stay motivated because I knew like we had already been talking about a summer season, and especially because there's money to be made in the summer with running. So I've gotten to a point where like it's not. I shift my mindset from like do I want to do it or just like trying to find pleasure in it as opposed to it's just something that I have to do, and like whether I feel like it or not, it has to be done. And it's like this is what I've chosen to do. So there's no reason in looking for a break until it's absolutely necessary. But I had a long season last year as well that went through the summer, so I'm kind of it's not new this year, so kind of it's bearable.
And what was the motivation to, I mean, because you have unbelievable range. There's not many people that can run on the 4x8 that wins the national championship and then also win the 10K at nationals. So what was the motivation behind running all of those races? Was there some nudging from the coaches, or was that just you wanted to show off and showcase who you are and what you got in your range?
Yeah, the motivation to do all the events that I did was one because I thought the team would have an opportunity to maybe win the team title, and I think winning a team title is such a cool experience, and it's something I would have loved to bring home to the university. But so that was one of the biggest reasons. And then another reason was I didn't feel like if I scratch certain events, I'm practically handing other people just a free national title, and just doesn't sit right with me. Like if I have the ability to go and compete and make it harder for other people, then I want to do that. And then this is my first track um, outdoor national championship that I've ever attended. So, so I think that's in in collegiate running, that's the biggest. It's the biggest stage you want to be at in your respective division or organization. So, I don't take it for granted because not many people can either make it there or some people want to be there. And if I had the opportunity, I wanted to showcase that one, I deserve to be there and that I can win. And, instead of just focusing on one event, showing that like I can withstand a lot more competition than most people are willing to do. And you're not in college forever, so just being in the moment and cherishing every opportunity because, quite frankly, we don't know when our last race could be. So um, that was the decision, and then yeah, I qualified in the 5, 10, 15, and our 4x8. So I told the coach I'm okay with doing everything. I just didn't run the 4x8 prelim. So it was a great weekend, and we came up short. Obviously, we did, top four get trophies, and we got fifth. But I mean, I did pretty much everything that I could on my end.
Yeah, I would say so. What's the recovery look like in between the races? What you got any tricks up your sleeve? You got some compression boots or what sort of stuff are you doing? You taking ice baths?
We I didn't take any ice baths because the showers that in the dorm that we were in at nationals were just stand up showers. Um, we had Normatec boots, but really just hydrating with like good electrolytes and eating and then just sleeping in. That's about it.
Right on. And I assume with the performances like that, you were the most outstanding performer of the national championships, correct? Was there an award that was given for that?
Yeah, I got MVP for the meet. There was two though. One of them was I don't know what the other guy that got it was for, but I think
For
mine
like the
was the
field
most
events,
points scored.
most points scored.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Everett, was this your first your first season at Oklahoma City?
Yes, this was my first year.
Yeah.
I ran indoors. Yeah, I got there in August.
Do you have another year left from COVID, or was this your true senior year?
I have one more year. I have cross country and an outdoor season left, I believe.
All right. So Knowing that going in, did you feel though? Because have you taken some time off from the collegiate ranks prior to getting to Oklahoma City?
Yeah, I was home for 2 years after I left Portland, and so, yeah, I hadn't raced. I raced like a couple, either local meets or some road races, but I hadn't been on the track until last summer and now this year.
Did you have a chip on your shoulder? Did you have something to prove?
I That's how I felt, just because I always want to first first of all just improve my either abilities or my personal best in whatever I'm doing. And there's so many goals that I have that you know I have I have a long ways to go. And so just when I got the opportunity to be back, can you guys hear me? A call was just coming in.
I think
Yeah,
you're back. Yeah.
you're back.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I was just saying that having the opportunity again, I knew like it's all when I was home for 2 years, I told myself like I just want any opportunity, and I'm gonna showcase that like I have what it takes to do the things that I told myself I wanted to do and that I've told other people I want to do. And yeah, so it was everything I've gone through has been motivation to do more and hopefully inspire people along the way and give good ROI to the people that have given me an opportunity.
So you said you had 2 years off. Did Oklahoma City find you or did you find them?
They found me because the assistant coach that recruited me from Portland, he was teammates with my current coach Frazier at Oklahoma University back in their day. And he reached out to my Portland coach, Rob Connor, and then he gave him my information, and then Rob told me that Frazier was going to reach out to me. And then me and Frazier got on the phone, and he was really genuine, and he was like, I want to help you out. I want to give you an opportunity because I know he's like, there's a lot you can do, and if I can help you with that, I would love to. And if you want to come to Oklahoma, there's a spot for you. And just the way the quickness with his like process to get me into school and get me sorted and just get me on the train, it was so fast and compared to other coaches I was talking to. So I knew. Sorry, I got a text. I knew that was an opportunity I couldn't just ignore. And I liked everything about Frazier. He was a professional runner in his own right, really fast as well. He's really young, and he just he's done the things that I want to do. And so it just made sense to be under the guidance of someone who can properly mentor me.
And so at at the university in Oklahoma City, I'm curious because, like I said, I lived there for 3 years. Where are you guys doing your training at?
So our track workouts are done at Northwest Classen, a high school down the road. And
Mhm.
then we go to Lake Overholster, Lake Hefner, and Lake Draper for
Yeah,
longer stuff, either long runs or long workouts. And then easy mileage would just run from campus.
right on, right on. You run along the river at all?
Yes, every Wednesday. That's
Every
our answer
Wednesday.
spot, the
Yes.
boathouse.
Yeah, at the boathouse. You know they have altitude chamber at the boathouse.
Yes, Frazier's told us, but I haven't personally utilized it yet.
Yeah, that was a key selling point as to why I moved. I moved to Oklahoma City after my first Leadville, and I was able to train, and I pretty much ran all winter of 2015 on the treadmill and the altitude chamber to get ready for the summer to go back up to Colorado. So it's actually it was a pretty cheap monthly membership, and so I would just sneak in there in the mornings when the rowers and stuff were getting ready and doing their thing, and I would just go log my miles or do my intervals on the treadmill, and I got pretty fit doing it. Curious. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that's got to build a lot of mental toughness, just being locked up in there, running every
Ye-
day.
Yeah, I'm one of those weird people. I enjoy running circles around on the track, and I can just kind of zone out and flow on the treadmill too. I maybe it's my winters as a wrestler being on the treadmill, but I've never disliked being on the treadmill. I know some people call it the dreadmill, but I've never really had a problem with it. Everett, I'm curious with your PRs and your range, from 800 to 10,000, and I'm sure you've done some half marathons and stuff like that. Where do you think your specialty is? What event do you really want to hone in on in the future once you get out of the NIAA?
I would like to be a good 1500 and 5K runner. I don't I don't really like the longer distances that much. That's why I haven't ran a true 10K since I think 2019. But once I retired from the 10K, I told myself I have to run good 1500s and even maybe a couple decent 800s in order to show myself that I don't have to go back up to the long distance. But I think once you're a well-rounded runner, you can run any race and be competitive at it. But just from an enjoyment standpoint, I want to do 15 and fives, um, and then later on in my career, obviously move up as the years come on.
Okay. Do you enjoy cross country?
I do, but I haven't had a good cross country season yet. So I'm hoping this upcoming one can be my first enjoyable one.
I hear you. I used to always feel like I ran better and performed better on the track than I did in cross country. I think it's just the start of the cross country. You got to be ready to run and gun right from the beginning. And I'm more of like a just methodical kind of lock into an even pace and run even splits or even negative split. And I just was never able to figure that equation out in cross country.
Everett,
Yeah, I
what was,
think
sorry, I didn't know
uh,
if you were paused or
no,
what.
no,
Answer,
you're
answer
good.
the question. No, answer the question. You're good.
I was just gonna say that if you can have a good cross country season, then you're probably gonna set yourself up for a great track season. Because I think above just physical fitness, it's a lot of mental toughness that comes with it, and that's a big part of running. And after seeing how good Connor Mance was, you know, in the NCAA, it made me want to be like a good cross country runner as well, because it just translates good to your other aspects of competitive running.
Yeah.
Was it a culture shock for you going to Oklahoma City?
Not really as much as I anticipated it, just because it's similar to Fresno and Portland in the sense that it's a big city and it's not, when people think of the Midwest out here on the West Coast, you think cowboys and cowboy hats and, a bunch of cornfields, and Oklahoma City luckily isn't like that. And there's it's a pretty diverse city. I would say there's different demographics, and it kind of resembles my hometown of Fresno in terms of the population. And you know, my in Fresno we don't have a downtown. I mean, we do, but it's not where outsiders come, and that's a place you got to go visit. As opposed to OKC's downtown is nice. Um, it's smaller than Portland's, obviously, but kind of the same build and kind of same infrastructure. So it was pretty easy to adjust when I got there. The only thing was just the wind and the humidity that
Yeah.
kind of took me out a bit.
Yeah, the humidity is no joke down there. I thought growing up on the East Coast and East Coast summers, I had a pretty good handle on humidity, and then I spent one summer in Oklahoma City, and I couldn't. I thought I had mono or something because it was just like I cannot run like I was running in the wintertime. There's got to be something wrong with me, and then it was like, nope, it's just really, really humid. July and August are pretty rough.
I
Everett,
agree, and I also
sorry.
struggle to run. Or sorry,
No,
I
I
was just
did.
saying I struggle to run and feel good over the summers, and I always think there's something wrong. But like yesterday, both of my runs were pretty bad, but today was a lot better.
Sorry, I didn't realize the feed delay, so I'm sorry. I keep talking over you. I see a nod, so I think that's like your answer, and then you answer. So I'm sorry about that. Um, I want to.
You're good.
I know we're all over the place. I want to get back to the national championship. What was the order of the races?
Yeah, it was a 1500 prelim Wednesday, early in the day, and then come back that night, 10,000 final. And then on Thursday, it was a 4x8 final early in the day, and the 5K prelim that night, and then 1500-meter final early in the day on Friday, and then the 5K final that evening.
Okay, so I know that the 15, there's two guys from the Cumberlands that went 1 and 2, and you got third. Do you think that had a little bit to do with some wear and tear? Obviously, you came back and you took the 5K. You know, Coach Souter told us that the 15 was the race of the meet. Everyone was standing, everyone was on their feet for that. How do you feel you performed in that race?
Yeah, I think I underperformed, and I think a little bit had to do with just having the volume of prior races under my belt. But knowing that beforehand, I think I could have had a better race plan. Like when I talked with my coach, we thought if I would have taken it out or just gone with 800 left and started squeezing it, it would have hopefully drawn that that pop that Lucas Santorum had in that final 200, as opposed to leaving it slow the entire way. And he's a more 815 guy, whereas I'm not as much. And if you've seen the race or you watch the replay, he just had a burst from 200 to about 150 that it opened up like a 1 second gap, and that's the gap that we couldn't close. So, um, yeah, I think if I would have just been less afraid or just more commanding, I could have had a better chance at winning it. But played out the way it did, and I don't dwell on it. It's just now I know moving forward how to you know think wiser on a race plan and how to execute it. But I mean, those Lucas Santorum isn't just some random 1500-meter runner. He's gonna be a good Division I runner at Texas A&M, and his his teammate at Luge is also a good runner in his own right. So I was just better guys on that evening.
So you said there was some wear and tear at that point, but you came back and you won the 5K. So were you ready to get one back? You're just ready to, hey, this is the last race of the weekend. I'm gonna bite the bullet and make it happen.
Yeah, the good thing with losing a race but having another one that same day is you don't have much time to dwell, and you have another opportunity to avenge yourself in a couple hours. So I took 10 minutes of being down and just thinking what I could have done better. But I was pretty hungry after the meet or after the 15, and so my coach got me some food. I went home to the dorm. I took it. I took a power nap, and then I kind of just was seeing red, and I knew the five. I knew in the 5K like no one was gonna run away from me, and that I wasn't gonna leave it to a final 400-meter race. Or at least I wasn't gonna try to, because it kind of turned down to be that way. But yeah, the five the 5K began, and I wasn't. I just tried to stay in the mix the entire time, just to prevent anyone from trying to run away or even having to catch up from the back to the front. And then I had told my coach that around 1K to go, I'm gonna make a move just to string things out and train the kick out of anyone who might have had one that afternoon. And uh, luckily, I felt good enough that I was able to pull away the final 400 and uh, add another title, which was good to kind of heal the wound from the 15.
So all those kids in that race, and they know that you had all those laps on your legs in all those previous races, and no one tried to take it out and put it out of the way early. They kind of let it play out the way it did, and it went pretty slow, and you were able to take control with the K to go.
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought anybody that was in there who was only either doing the 5K or had just done one other event would have, maybe either on their own or gathered like a couple guys and been like, if we just make it a harder race, maybe he can struggle a bit. But they they just set it up perfectly for me to close it out. So
Man.
yeah, I can't complain.
So
So
look, go ahead, Jim.
so next year, you add in the steeple in there, you add in the 800 in there. You're gonna do a race walk, or you taking away. You're not gonna do the 10K. What's the deal next track season? Gonna try to break your record?
I don't know. I've thought about that a couple of times on my runs once I'm like brains wandering off, and I'm in a dilemma just because I've won everything besides the 15 and the 8. So I'm like, part of me doesn't want to not run it and then just relinquish my title and have us win. But part of me wants to, I want to win the 15, and I think I would like to break the championship record and obviously keep lowering the NAI record. But I don't know. I've also wanted to do a steeple, but I haven't really put the time into training for it. And one of my roommate, he was in the steeple final, but they stepped on his ankle like early on in the race and kind of threw his race off. But I think he had a shot of he could have won on a good day, and so I think I'll leave the steeple glory up to him to achieve.
So, ever hot topic these days with the coaches and the athletes that we talk to, we always like to get everyone's feedback and what they're at, what they're doing. We're curious, do you all down in Oklahoma City, do you all dabble with the double threshold training at all? Has that been something you guys have been playing around with? Is that something that is a key to your success?
We haven't done any double threshold. The
Okay.
only thing that comes remotely close has been we'll do like a longer like threshold workout in the morning and then come back in the afternoon and have a couple 200 or like 6 to 8 200s. But and I think double threshold training has to be very calculated and very smart on your approach to it because a lot of people think, oh well, the Norwegians run double threshold all the time, so we can just do it. But they don't understand the science behind it because too many people go out and they don't have the proper data on how fast it should be running or how much it should be running. And I think in running, it's very easy to either train too much and fatigue yourself out. But, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. I think there's obviously some really good upside to it if you know what you're doing. And I would be open to doing it if we got the proper, threshold test and your VO2 max and have the proper equipment to test your blood lactate and all that stuff. But I think it's going to keep growing. And I think at some point, most people will have to do it unless you're like a sprinter or an 800 guy. But it just makes sense, more volume, um, a couple of times a week over a long period of time, it'll add up. And it reminds me of a quote that the interview where Kobe was saying how he wakes up at 4 a.m. and trains to a certain time, goes home, sleeps, trains again, and he'll get 3, 4 workouts in a day, as opposed to some people only getting 1 or 2. So you do that over a period of time, there's so much more work that he's done compared to someone else. So that's why he was as good as he was. So in the running space, I think if you can do smart calculated work and squeeze in more volume than your competitors, then over a long period of time you'll see those results. Whether it's just the running or you're incorporating cross training and lifting and whatever else you think is going to make you a good runner. So I'm a fan of it. I just haven't started doing it.
Are you a high mileage guy?
Not this year. I was last year kind of. I was running 80, 85, but for some reason I think just the school load. I mean, mainly I was just lacking a little bit, and so I was running anywhere from like 50 to 70 miles a week. And I think maybe that's why I haven't wanted to run, longer distances because I'm more suited for the 15 right now. But I'm definitely going to up my mileage this summer and for this coming year because it's my last year and I have to make sure that I'm doing all the work possible to set myself up for a post-collegiate career.
And so you mentioned Kobe. Being in Fresno, are you a Lakers fan or a Golden State fan? Do you follow basketball at all?
I do. I'm a Lakers fan. I've been a
Okay.
Lakers fan since a kid, but mainly because when you're a kid, I feel like in California, you have to choose you're a Niner fan or a Raider fan, a Laker fan, and what was the or Miami Heat fan because of Kobe and LeBron. So by default, I just chose the Lakers because of Kobe Bryant.
Have you made your way to an OKC Thunder game yet?
I have. I went to the OKC versus Denver and OKC versus Timberwolves game this season. I started watching the NBA around January because I started sports betting a little bit, and so I had to watch the
Accidentally.
games. Yeah, and then I just watched it a lot since then, and so now I'm a avid basketball watcher. So it's good that I'm in a city with a great basketball team.
Yeah, are you gonna switch your allegiance from a Lakers fan to a Thunder fan full time, full fledged?
Probably,
Yeah, right on.
yeah. We have more potential in OKC than we do with the Lakers.
Everett, you didn't run for 2 years. You weren't in school. You were waiting for that opportunity. You grasped it and you made the most of it. Do you have any advice to anyone who isn't in school anymore, might have some eligibility left? They're thinking about going back to school, second guessing themselves. Do you have any advice to anyone like that listening to the podcast?
Yes. So my biggest thing with the whole college system is if you have the opportunity to go to college, um, especially as an athlete, you should definitely take that opportunity because it's a limited opportunity and not necessarily rare because a lot of people go, but it's it's not something that's forever. The real world is forever once you leave college, and you're gonna have to either work or find something to do to keep you afloat. And a lot of what I saw when I was growing up, like during my high school years and figuring out what I wanted to do after high school, so many kids are just like, I'm gonna, I'm not gonna go to college because I want to work. But I'm like one of my friends, he was a really good soccer player, 4.0 student, the best soccer player at our school, and we had a pretty competitive soccer team. Could have gone to any big Division 1 school where everything paid for, and he just went into I think construction or something. And it's sad to see because there's so many opportunities in this world with athletics, um, and or whatever sport you do. So the real world isn't going anywhere. And so if you have the privilege to go and be part of a team and, meet new people and extend your athletic life for a lot longer, you should do it. I was just I had a conversation with one of my old security guards from my high school because I was helping my dad landscape yesterday and we were doing her house. And I was telling her how, some people are so eager to just go into the workforce. Like my little brother, he's a great soccer player and has great grades. And he's also not wanting to go to school. And I'm like, don't be like your friends who are just going to go work. I'm like, you want it, like minimum wage jobs aren't going anywhere. Most jobs are not going to go anywhere. I said, but you're not going to be young and be so athletic and, maybe pursue some type of professional career in sports. So yeah, I'd say take it. Not an opportunity people get, and it's a very special thing to be a part of. And it'll open so many more doors than you ever thought, and it'll take you to places you've never expected to be.
Thank you for sharing that. I know there's people out there that need to hear that, looking for a message, looking for a sign. Well, that's your sign. Everett just gave it to you. Take it. You ran NCA, started off college, NCA, just had an epic season in AIA. What were your thoughts on the NAIA maybe in high school? And now, kind of what are your thoughts after a full indoor and outdoor season?
Yeah. I've never been one to knock, different levels of anything really, because I think every level of, competitive organizations have a unique thing to offer to people. And just, you always hear people say just because you go D1 doesn't mean you're gonna be good, or just because someone goes D2, D3, NAI, whatever, that they're bad. And I think you just they always say find your fit. And, my years in Portland, they were great, but I never competed or became the athlete that I knew I should be. And because of that, I wasn't as happy, because all my peers and, my best friends, they all were becoming really good runners. And I was just not stagnating, because I was still improving, but not at the rate they were. And I knew that I was also just as capable. And so, but I was never gonna leave Portland on my own, because I love Rob Connor, and I felt like I owed him some type of loyalty to stay. But transferring was always in the back of my mind. And, eventually when I left and then joined the NAI with Oklahoma City and under Frazier, like everything just kept progressing from how my summer season was last year. And so I just knew, like, you just have to be in an environment where, that works for you, and with someone that knows how to cater to your needs and build you up to be, either as good as you can be, or even better than that. And so, and I think anyone who thinks it's either Division 1 or bust is wrong, because I mean, you see people come out of JUCO and then transfer into a big program, or some people like Gracie Hyde from Adams State. He was at Arkansas.
Yeah.
I don't think she was running bad, but she transfers over to Adams State, and now she's just running out of her mind. And, I would assume is going to sign a nice professional contract. So every road is different, and I'm a firm believer that, God will put you on a path that is special to you, and that's going to work out for you specifically. And it might not look like the most glorified path that, people typically want to see, but if you just have full faith in it and you trust and you obviously do the work, things are going to work out for you how they're supposed to. And, that's one thing I've learned over these last 3 years is, um, everyone's path is different. And now that I see that clear, I trust where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I know if I keep doing the right things, God's gonna keep, bringing great things into my life. So,
Amen. So curious, there's lots of training groups popping up. There's a bunch in Flagstaff. We got the On group in Boulder. They're doing some good things in Baltimore. Next year, after you win another 5 national titles, ideal world, what would you like? You want to go back to California, or are you open to
yeah,
Flagstaff? Or
yeah, I like being away from home. They always say you got to leave home in order to grow. And my dad was very adamant about that when I was in high school, because initially I was gonna commit to Georgetown, but when I told him that, he was like, "Oh, you don't think that's too far?" But I think when I was talking to my coach a couple weeks ago, I told him that I really like what the On group is doing in Boulder. And, when they first made their group, it was very focused on having a diversified group of athletes from all over the world. And my friend Carlos Villarreal was part of that team, and he represents Mexico. But he retired, and so they don't have a Mexican on their team. And the other good Mexican, Lalo, is with Under Armour and Flagstaff. So, you know, if they're looking for a Mexican athlete that can make, an Olympic team or World Championship team, I would like to think there's a shot that I could go there, as long as I keep elevating my running game and, getting faster and, showing my abilities to perform and uh, show the potential that I have. So, but then again, I'm not, I'm open to any opportunity that comes my way. I don't discriminate, and there's so many good groups, and I mean, everyone's running well right now. So in a year from now, I hope I would have done enough to, capture the eyes of either a coach or a sponsor, um, and I'd be open to discussing any groups or any shoe companies that would be interested. And yeah, but and I think a lot of things can happen in a year. Maybe there's a new group and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just focusing on working as hard as I can and doing all the right things, and just knowing that if I do those things, something will present itself.
And will you look to represent Mexico moving forward in international competition?
I will, just because I'm not a U.S. citizen, so I'm I've filed for my residency. Me and my mom have done it. We did it 7 years ago, so we're just waiting on it to arrive. But residency, you still have to wait 5 years to become a citizen. So I have no choice but to represent Mexico. But that's who I would have liked to represent anyways. And I just have to figure out a way to get the permissions that allow you to travel out of the country and come back as a either green card holder or a dreamer.
Okay. All right. And how with your times and stuff, how are you I guess in the rankings and with with the people in Mexico and their times on the men's side?
Yeah, Lalo just broke the Mexican national record in the 1500 this weekend in New York. He ran 3:35. So just based off of that, I'm not that far off, and I know hopefully this summer I can run, maybe 3:36 or faster. Um, and then 800 we have, I forget his name, um, but there's a 1-800 guy from Mexico, and he's running really well. He's a 144 guy, I believe, and there's probably a couple, maybe 5K and 1,500 guys in Mexico. There's not many, so I know I'm a top three runner right now for the country. So
Okay, right on. Let's go.
Everett, I got one for you before we get into the final four. If Rich doesn't, you broke a 4-minute mile this year. And that has always been something since I've been a kid that has just captivated me. And anytime you hear that, I'm like, that dude's legit. And I know there's people who do it now more than they did back in the day, but I still find that impressive. Two parts to that question. What was your PR prior to the mile? And what did that feel like for you?
yeah, so my PR prior to breaking four was 4:02, and yeah, so I mean that day was special just because it was at a race that we host locally. Like my coach puts it on with this program called Simon Greener. They help like underprivileged kids in the running communities, get into running and stuff. And so there was, I mean, it was just a great opportunity. And I had came out to that race last year and I ran 4:03. And it just, the feeling I had of seeing everyone lined up on like the inside lanes of the track, just cheering and me not breaking four. I felt so bummed out. Even like every time I'd see something about that race come up, I'd watch a video about it. And it just would make me feel so bad because like I'm like I wasted these people's time. They came out and they wanted to see something I didn't deliver. So I was set on, doing everything I can to do it this year. And the race went out, and some of my teammates were facing me, and I was on pace at halfway, and then with a lap to go, and my coach was there was some prize money, and I needed a new phone because I had a 7 prior to this. So with 200 to go, like I was in some pain, but I was like if you don't break four, you don't get a phone. So I like I found I found the gear and I kicked it home and just everyone that last 100 meters, seeing everyone lined up once again screaming. I gave it everything I had, and then I seen 3:56, 3:57, and I just felt this like adrenaline rush, and I threw up the Jalen Williams three celebration, and yeah, afterwards just like I was just reflecting on like everything I'd been through up until that point, and then my coach embraced me, and I started crying, but I didn't know why I was crying, but I guess I was just so overwhelmed with like finally doing it, and at one point not knowing if I'd ever get a chance to like because at one point I thought about quitting running, but just to see how far I've came and everything I've, worked hard for, just it was so surreal and just like I was proud of myself. So it was a great moment and something I'll never forget.
Does a 358 hurt much more than a 402?
It actually hurt less than when I ran when I ran 402. Yeah,
Got anything, Rich? You want to get in the final four?
Let's get into the final four. It's been
All
a great
right.
conversation.
Yeah. Everett, it's been a great conversation, and I appreciate your story. There's a lot of people that need to hear that, and I'm happy that you continued to run. I know you said there was a point in time that you weren't sure about it, but now you got us excited for an AIA track and the performance that's going to come in cross country. So, thank you.
thank you.
All right, final four, sir. First question: are you a coffee drinker?
No, but I do like. I'm not an avid coffee drinker as most people are. I'm an occasional coffee drinker. So if I'm on a date or we're at a brunch spot and there's some lattes, I'll get a latte. Or if a friend makes a cup of black coffee, I'll have one. But for the most part, I'm not.
Do you have a favorite brunch spot in OKC?
Ooh, I think I would say syrup is
Okay.
probably the only one I've gone to the most. But
Okay.
I have a screenshot of some places I want to go to when I get back.
Right on. Nice. Everett, do you have any daily practices or rituals you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of yourself?
When I wake up, so I go outside and I do some breath work and I walk on grass barefoot, do some grounding. And as I'm doing that, I give thanks. I just practice some grace and gratefulness, mindfulness to God, and just say what I'm thankful for, and just ask that I have a good day and have all the power and ability to get through, what today's gonna bring, and then just practice, watch some NBA, and do it all over again.
Or we get down with the grounding, so we always get a little giddy inside when other people talk about grounding and doing that stuff. So good for you.
Yeah, and I take it a little bit farther, and I know you said we wake up first thing, you do your breath work, you do your grounding. If you're up within the first hour of sunrise, start getting yourself some sun gazing. It will change the game for you, but only start with 10 seconds because you don't want to burn your eyes out.
Okay, haven't heard that one, but yeah, I usually try to like just get sunlight exposure on my body, but I don't directly look at the sun.
Yeah. Um, if you're curious or in a couple years or whatever you hear about it, we got a video on YouTube. It's called we have two of them. We have Light Diet 101 and we have Sun Gazing for Dummies. Look into those two videos if you have any deep dive questions and they will protect you from getting hurt.
I will.
Everett, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
I'm a very basic music guy. Like, some people have underground, musicians or rappers they listen to, or there's like, hidden gems that they know of. I'm more a generic guy, listen to what's popular. Um, every now and then I'll shuffle, the Spotify top songs and see if there's anything new that I find. But I'm a big Drake guy, and my been my number one on Spotify for years now. So I just have my saved songs. I shuffle them, and it's a little bit of everything: some country, some rap, Mexican music. And I'm not reading anything, but I do have a book that I should start reading. I've had it for a year now, and I haven't touched it once, but I should get into more reading.
Do you run with music?
I do, and I know some people. It depends, but for the most part, I do. But I'll see some David Goggins videos sometimes, and he'll say, "No, there's no music when you're suffering in a race," and I'm like, "Yeah," but for the most part, there's not much to look at in Fresno when I'm running, and I run by myself most of the time on easy days, and I like listening to music, but every now and then I'll ditch the headphones and just listen to nature.
Right on, right on. Everett, last one we have for you. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
A guilty pleasure. Mm, Probably sports betting.
Right on.
That's a
Mostly
unique one.
basketball?
What was that?
Is it mostly basketball, or do you take on all sports? Do you do any MMA betting?
Yeah, it just depends. I'm in a group chat with some of my friends from my hometown, and some one of my best friends, he's a big gamer, so we'll do some CS2Go and League of Legends, some MLB, MMA because I love watching the UFC, but mainly just basketball and
Right
MMA.
on. Do you have a favorite MMA fighter right now?
I have a few. I think Sugar Sean O'Malley is at the top of my list right now.
Right on. Respect.
How
Well,
about you
Everett,
guys?
we're old school guys. We used to watch it way more, and now we don't watch it as much as we used to. So I don't know if I could even answer that question for you.
I think I'd go with
That's a blessing.
Dustin Poirier right now,
Mm,
even though he
great pick.
just suffered a loss. But I like him, and yeah, I'd say Dustin. Dustin's my guy.
Dustin's a great guy to root for. So
Yeah.
Everett, thank you again, sir, for your time tonight. I hope the people that need to hear this podcast because it was a great one and you gave us some great information on your story and your background. And like Rich and I always say to our guests, we like having these conversations with people, especially college athletes, because now it gives us more people to watch, follow, and root for. So just know you got two guys in the Airey Bros rooting for you next year, and I can't wait to see what you got going next.
thank you guys so much for having me, and thank you for the kind words. I enjoy talking. It's been a while since I've been on a podcast, so I'm glad I could be on this one.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Like Jimmy said, we'll be rooting for you in the fall and definitely in the spring for outdoor track. And yeah, hopefully we'll reconnect after a couple more national titles next year and a pro contract.
Yes, sir. I'll be doing my best to make sure you guys it's worthwhile for every time you guys watch a race.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time tonight. Have a great night. Good luck with your summer training.
Thank you guys.